I love Tyler. He came and did a guest spot on my show Another Life when we were up in Vancouver because he was under contract, I believe, for Superman and Lois. Because that
what year was it?
2000. I met my husband, so 2018.
Okay, so he would have been doing, that was my first year as Lois. So we would have been there doing the crossovers.
Yes.
For Elseworlds. And I was 6 months pregnant with Viv.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And yeah, that's why Tyler would have been in Vancouver. So he wasn't, so there wasn't a Superman and Lois at that point yet.
But there was just talk of one. Like, I feel like he sort of kind of knew.
Well, I told him that, but what's funny is that according to Tyler, when he first met with Greg Berlanti, there was some indication or implication that they would use him for some in the recurring for a couple seasons, and then they might kill him off. Or they would do like the death of Superman, which now Superman and Lois is doing. And I can talk about that publicly because we just announced it at Comic-Con. But then when I was cast, I was called, and I've never said who out of respect, but somebody called me and said, you know, if the fans really like the two of you together, I could see them doing a show with just the two of you. And so I said that to Tyler, and he's like, wait, what? I was told that it's just gonna be, and then he was like, I was saying there, and I said, I don't know, you know, this is just what I was told, and who knows? And then can't remember when it was, I would say a couple months after Elseworlds aired, that we started getting phone calls about them doing a separate show. Yeah.
What was your sort of process for Lois? Because this is a character that is widely popular. It's been portrayed many different times by many different women. Mm-hmm. What was your process for her?
Honestly, it was to avoid any other iteration. The only thing still to this day that I've seen is the original Donner film with Margot Kidder. And I had seen that, you know, years prior. I remember finding Margot Kidder just incredibly charming. But I think
you have a lot of similarities to her.
Well,
actually.
It's weird because when I got the audition, at that point I was probably 4.5 months pregnant with Viv. And when I got the audition, I remember saying, I was with my dad and we were visiting my family in San Diego. And I said, that's so weird because my whole life, people have always said I look like Margot Kidder.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so weird. I'm getting this audition for Lois Lane. And, you know, everybody always tells me I kind of look like Margot Kidder. And then the audition was a cut scene from, I want to say, Superman 2. And so we call back and we say, you know, she's pregnant. And the initial response was, yikes, that might be a liability because we don't know if she needs to be hanging on the wires, flying with Superman or whatever. And then one of the producers, and I think also David Rappaport, who's a phenomenal casting director, had said, no, I think our gut instinct is she's our girl. And so they said, just, you know, have her come in anyway. And what I had sort of heard is that everybody was playing the audition scene pretty seriously because that's what it was on paper. It was a very serious scene. And I did not play it that way. And I squealed at the end and I kind of played like much more joyful, like teasing. And I remember when I did it at the end, one of the producers or two of them started literally clapping. And so I'm like, okay, that went well. I don't know if it's going my way, but when they start clapping in the room, it's usually a good sign. And then I think by the end of the day or the next day, it was being circulated enough that Todd Helbing, who I think was the showrunner on The Flash at the time, because it was to play on Supergirl and The Flash for Elseworlds. And so he had to look at the tape too. And so I didn't realize this. I just found this out about a month ago that Todd had to look at, he'd actually seen my audition tape for Lois, even though it wasn't his decision, it was mainly the Supergirl producers, Robert Rovner and Jessica Quellerin. They're both amazing. But Todd was saying, like, I mean, he was just saying it was getting passed around and people were like, oh my God, this is great, you know, and whatever I had done really worked. And so then when I booked it, I just was thinking, okay, avoid watching anyone else, because whatever I was bringing to that audition room is obviously something they're into. And so I'm just going to keep doing it that way. And so I think the Lois that I played is, you know, extremely strong, also extremely vulnerable. I've had very hard storylines on the show. I had a late term miscarriage storyline, season 1, season 3. I had Lois rather had advanced inflammatory breast cancer. In season 4, obviously we're dealing with the death of Superman, so she's dealing with the loss of her husband. There's quite a lot of emotional stuff, but also I think Tyler and our chemistry together too is just very playful and teasing and kind of
super light, you know, like he's got
because
that.
This is why he works. He really embodies hope, and just he's really down to earth and sweet and kind, you know? Yeah.
Super, super normal. I loved having him around. I was really disappointed that we killed him on the show because I was like, can we get him back or something? Like, it's like